Hey guys, Jason here. Welcome back to another video here on my channel. And today I'm going to talk about metal and specifically like subgenres I like and compared to like subgenres I don't like. I think I'm going to do this like kind of in a tier list because it's kind of the best format for this video. So I think we're going to have the same tiers as, for songs in each season. We're going to have an awesome tier. We're going to have a good tier. We're going to have the mid tier, and then we're going to have the bad tier, the not so good tier. So the way I'm probably going to do this is I'm going to kind of go from the most like mainstream metal genres to like stuff that's like more underground-ish. I think I'll kind of go in that order. And yeah, so let's get started. Before we get started, if you like the video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel and leave a comment. And let's get started. So first up, I'm going to start with new metal. I really like this genre. I've always liked this genre. There's certain bands I don't like. But overall, I've always liked the genre. I don't mind Korn. I love Linkin Park, Slipknot. Even though I would say Slipknot's later stuff's not new metal. Limp Bizkit, I like their earlier stuff. I don't like any of their later stuff. I like the $3 Bill Y'all and the Nookie and Break Stuff and songs like that. But once you get past like albums like the album Results May Vary, where they do like where it has the cover that one the Who song on it, I don't like that album. But other than that, I don't mind Limp Bizkit or Linkin Park or Slipknot, and then even some less well-known bands like Motograder, which was actually Ivan Moody's band before he was in Five Finger Death Punch. Flaw. I kind of got into them like 2022. Yeah. I would put this genre in the awesome tier. I really love this genre, and I think it's an awesome genre. Like, I love the rapping elements to it, even though the genre's kind of like faded out. I mean, it's kind of coming back though. There's like some new, less well-known bands I haven't really checked out, but there's some new stuff that's kind of coming out. But I mean, the genre itself is kind of died out. It's not as popular as it was like 20 years ago, but it's still good music. Like, I love the down-tuned stuff that some bands do, like the turntables, the rapping stuff, like Linkin Park. So yeah, I like it. It may not be the most technical thing in the world, but it has a hook, and I like stuff that has a hook, but I do also like stuff that's really technical. But so I'll put this in the awesome tier. The genre is really good. Next, I know this genre doesn't really technically count as metal, but I'm going to put it in there anyways. Some people say it does, some people say it doesn't. I mean, I would say it's kind of hard rock, but we'll put hard rock in there, and industrial rock, and maybe even modern rock, because, I mean, I guess those technically count, because they're not as heavy as, like, metal, but, and a lot of people say that, I hate when people say that metal is not rock, because actually, it is. It is rock. Yes, it may be heavier than rock, and it may be categorized in its own genre, but it's still technically rock. because it has, loud guitars and drums and bass and pretty much the same elements as rock. So I hate when people try to say that metal is not rock. Because the truth is, if rock never happened, then metal wouldn't have happened. So yeah, I say metal's rock. Anyway, now that we got off that tangent, let's talk about grunge. I like this genre too, even though it's, kind of mainstream and a little more generic, like nu metal. I also have always loved this. I've always had a soft spot for these type of genres, like nu metal, grunge, and yeah. So yeah, Nirvana was really good, especially songs like In Bloom and Lithium and stuff like that. I love Alice in Chains. I love Pearl Jam. Pearl Jam, it's not my favorite. I'll listen to a couple of their songs, but, I like them. Soundgarden, of course, is good. The main grunge bands. Of course, Stone Temple Pilots. Yeah. I like this. I would say, I don't know, because some of the bands, I don't know, I just wouldn't really say it is as good as nu metal. So I'm gonna put it in good. In the good tier. Next, and grunge has guitar solos too, but unlike nu metal. Next, let's talk about post-grunge, which is the grunge that came after grunge. That's funny. Because grunge came like in the early 90s, and then post-grunge is like the later 90s, early 2000s, where you got bands like Seether, Stained, and stuff like that. Kind of around the time that nu metal was around. So, yeah, I'm gonna put this in. I'm gonna put this in good as well. I like it. I like some of the riffs, and yes, I would say the vocals are like some of the songs are maybe more melodic than than regular grunge, but I feel like they're kind of about the same. Just post-grunge is kind of just a more modern version. If you, like, there's some heavier stuff like Seether, but not too heavy. But, yeah, good. I would put it in good as well. And, next, let's talk about modern metal. So, let me just give some context what I mean by modern metal. The bands like Five Finger Death Punch, Disturbed, maybe, even though Disturbed people say it's nu metal, but I don't call them nu metal. Slipknot, I guess you could put in there. Like bands from like 20 years or less. What I would call modern traditional heavy metal. So yeah, like all your typical Five Finger Death Punches, Disturbs, Slipknots, Breaking Benjamin even, probably, but I would probably put them in post-grunge, maybe. Or hard rock. And then even some stuff like Trivium, because I don't know where to put that band. They kind of explored, all different genres, where they kind of explored thrash, in their earlier stages. They did metalcore, but I don't like to call them metalcore because, I don't know, they're just not. I don't really think they are. A lot of bands are kind of called metalcore because they don't even really have a genre that they're supposed to, go into, so they just label them as metalcore, kind of. But, yeah, they've done, like, thrashy albums, they've done prog, like, kind of with Shogun, then they went to metalcore, kind of, a little bit, And then they kind of went to hard rock, and then they kind of went technical. So, yeah. And speaking of Trivium, I did do an album ranking of all their albums, if you want to go watch that tier list video, and one on Five Finger Death Punch. So, with modern metal, it depends on the stuff you listen to, because Trivium's really technical and really good. We also have more generic stuff like Disturbed and Five Finger, and other bands like that. And even some probably the later new metal stuff I would consider modern metal maybe. Or some of the new metal stuff that's maybe a little heavier. But yeah, it kind of depends with modern metal. You have, your technical stuff, like your Triviums, maybe even your In Flames a little bit. Parkway Drive. And even maybe the Octane Core stuff, like Motionless in White. I would put them in modern metal too. Motionless in White, Bad Wolves, like all these bands, even Falling in Reverse. A lot of these bands I wouldn't even really call metalcore. I kind of put them in modern metal. Because, yeah, you have all those generic bands like that, and then technical bands like Trivium and heavier bands. So, modern metal, yeah, I could spend a lot of time talking about modern metal. It's a really cool genre. It's really diverse. I could spend all the time in the world talking about that stuff. So yeah, I'm gonna put that in awesome. Next. Someone just sent me a message. Okay. Next, let's talk about thrash. Thrash, I really like Metallica, especially the early Metallica, and the Black Album. I hate that people say that they don't like that album. It's one of my favorite albums of all time. Even though it's not as heavy as like Master of Puppets or Ride the Lightning or Kill 'Em All or any album like that, it's still great. I love a lot of the songs on that album. And of course you have Slayer, which I like albums like Hell Awaits, Rain and Blood, Anthrax, it's good. Megadeth, no, I don't listen to Megadeth. I only like one or two songs by them, and that's it. Terrible. Shit band. And then, of course, you got the heavier stuff like Sepultura, The Accused. Like the heavier stuff, maybe you could kind of consider maybe Death Thrash. And then, of course, you have like black and thrash bands. But yeah, thrash I would consider awesome too. I really like the riffing in thrash. I really like the drumming. And if you find the right stuff, there's a lot of great guitar riffs and a lot of great drum parts. And thrash, I would say, even if you look it up, they say this too, but I would say that thrash is really a percussive genre. It's kind of, a lot of it, especially like the heavier stuff, is really focused on rhythm and kind of, those D beats and stuff like that. So I would say thrash is really good with vocals and without vocals, because I listen to a lot of instrumental metal too, and I listen to some instrumental thrash, and it's really good. But I also listen to some vocal stuff as well. But I don't even remember the last time I listened to like a lot of vocal thrash though. I haven't listened to like thrash in a little while. I mean, I have listened to instrumental, but I'm talking about regular thrash. So yeah, awesome. Alright, what genre should we talk about next? Let's talk about metalcore. Um, I used to like this genre. I was listening to some stuff like several years ago, and then, um, Damien kind of got into metal, and then his favorite genre became metalcore. And then I started listening to some of the stuff again. Like, some of the stuff I listened to, like, several years ago was stuff like For Today, like some Christian metal band. And then I listened to, like, August Burns Red, some Wage War, some As I Lay Dying back when they were around, like, a few years ago. And then I got into Bury Tomorrow. And that was a band that Damien got me hooked on, too. I checked out their stuff, and I really like it. I think they're a really good band. But in like 2022 or 2023, they put out an album and they changed their clean vocalist, and then they changed their sound a little bit. And their melodic vocalist, their clean vocalist, now doesn't really sound good, and they kind of made their sound like more mainstream, if you want to call it that. Because compared to that, back when like Cannibal came out in like 2020, I love that album. That album is so good. Like, I love Bury Tomorrow's music. Like, even if you go back and listen to the stuff like their first album, it's even good. Like, I think it's really good. I like it. And I like more kind of, where you have the verse that's dirty, screaming, and then you have clean vocals. But, when the clean vocal, or when the album came out in like 2023, the way they had the new clean vocalist, it just turned me off of the band, kind of. And now I kind of just don't like them. And then I listened to Bleed From Within. I like them a little bit. I like them. I think they're cool. Fit for a King I was listening to a little bit. I don't mind them. But I don't know. And then Spirit Box. I like some of their stuff. They're kind of more melodic metalcore or even modern metal maybe, but I think they're good, especially like their new EP that just came out. And then especially some of their stuff like off of Eternal Blue that came out in like 2021. I like some of that stuff. But ever since like 2022 or last year, I've tried listening to metalcore, and I still like the instrumental stuff a little bit, but I tried listening to regular metalcore because, as you know, I listen to a lot of instrumental metal too, especially from this channel called Jacob Azat. He posts a lot of royalty-free instrumental metal music. But regular metalcore, like, ever since, like, 2022, maybe, or even, like, when the Bury Tomorrow album came out, I don't know, I've been getting out of the genre, and a lot of people on YouTube have kind of been saying this, that metalcore's not diverse anymore. And all the bands kind of just sound the same now, and there's, like, a generic riff in the chorus, there's a generic riff in the verse, and then, of course, you have to include a breakdown. So, yeah, it's kind of becoming a genre that just kind of repeats itself. It's not like it was, like, 5 years ago. And even, like, 10 years ago with, like, Bring Me the Horizon and stuff like that. And Asking Alexandria. They've kind of moved on to, like, rock and, like, pop and stuff. But, yeah, metalcore, I would say it's mid. Because there's still some good stuff out there, which is, like, older stuff. But, like, a lot of the new stuff, with probably, like, the exception of maybe Spirit Box and some of the other bands I mentioned. I'm sorry, Damien, but I don't really like metalcore anymore. And I think it's becoming too generic. And it's just the same kind of thing. Like Invent Animate, I've checked them out, and they kind of just do, like, melodic, chill stuff. I mean, it's kind of like Spirit Box a little bit, but I don't know. I just can't get into them. So, yeah, mid. Next, let's talk about deathcore, since we mentioned metalcore. Deathcore, I like some of the stuff, especially with Lorna Shore with To the Hellfire and the Pain Remains album. I really like that. I like Lorna Shore stuff, some Chelsea Grin stuff, If an Annihilator. They say that's like deathcore, but some of that stuff, especially like the drumming, I would call that like tech death a little bit. So I like some of the stuff, but when I listen to deathcore, it's like too heavy, and I can't sit down and listen to a whole deathcore album in a row like I can like a modern metal album or a new metal album or maybe even a death metal album. It's just too heavy, I guess. I'll listen to like several songs maybe in a row, but not really a whole album. Yeah, especially that breakdown To the Hellfire. That's really good. But again, I don't know. It's not really my favorite genre, so I'm gonna put it in mid. Damien really likes the core genres. I don't. I like either more mainstream stuff or more really technical stuff. I'm not in the middle. I don't know. But I'm gonna go with mid on this. Oh, what should we talk about next? Let's talk about death metal. Death metal is one of my favorite genres. But I don't know. I can't really get into like any like new school death metal bands. I just tried listening to them, and I kind of like I get bored. But I like a lot of old school stuff, like the old school Morbid Angel, Cannibal Corpse, Death, especially Morbid Angel, like Altars of Madness and Blessed Are the Sick. Damn, like those are such good albums. I would put those in some of my all-time favorite metal albums. Like both of those albums, they're so dark, they're so raw, they're so like the production is dark, the lyrics are dark, the riffing is really dark and heavy on both of those albums. Dude, yes, those albums are something, and old school death metal is really good. It's back when death metal was actually good, and now, I don't know. I don't know. I probably should check out more of the stuff, but I don't know. Just doesn't sound as good as like old school. You know what? I'm gonna combine this genre into two tiers. I'm gonna do old school death metal and new stuff. Old school, I'm gonna put in awesome. It's a lot of damn good stuff. Tomb of the Mutilated by Cannibal Corpse, Butchered at Birth, even like the Bleeding to a certain extent. Yes, awesome tier. New school death metal though, I'm gonna put maybe high mid, low good, because there's probably more stuff I need to check out, but I just don't want to. I don't know. It's just I like listening to other music and stuff like that. And speaking of other music, before I kind of got, because I started branching out in like 2021 and 2022, kind of around the time I was starting to create music. And I thought, yeah, I want to create music outside the box. But before, I mean, I did like all kinds of music, but I was just always kind of a metalhead and didn't really branch out that much. But I feel like especially ever since I kind of stopped liking metalcore, I feel like, metal, it's not really my, I mean, I still listen to it, but it's not really my main, like, I mean, it kind of is, but it's still one of my top genres, but I've been, like, listening to a lot of other stuff, like, lately, especially funk. I've been listening to a lot of funk. Not funk. Not F-U-N-K. Funk. P-H-O-N-K. Just to clarify for anyone. And a lot of that stuff is really good. But metal, a lot of times I've been listening to, metal instrumentals, and yes. And that kind of leads me into the point of what I've been listening to kind of metal-wise lately, too, is industrial metal, especially Fear Factory. It's awesome. Sometimes I don't know, sometimes I can't really get into, like, slower Fear Factory stuff, but a lot of the faster songs, I can get into. But, yes, especially, I like Fear Factory a lot, and, I don't know, I feel like Fear Factory is kind of one of the, bands that kind of built up the blueprint of, like, modern double bass drumming for, like, modern metal, and the good cop, bad cop vocals, like in metalcore, which, screaming and verses, and the good cop vocals, singing in the chorus. They were one of the first bands to start doing that. And the good cop, especially those good cop vocals on those earlier albums, those melodic vocals, they sound so good. And you know why they sound so good? It's because those albums were done in, like, the 90s, and they weren't using any damn auto-tune. Like, no fucking auto-tune at all. And, I don't know, it just sounds really good. And then their later stuff, it has, like, auto-tune on it, but the vocals, they still do sound good. I like a lot of the later stuff, too. I like a lot of the later stuff because of the music. Because of, like, some of the, like, industrial elements and, like, more symphonic elements they kind of added to, like, some of the songs. I mean, they kind of did do that with the earlier albums, but you can it's kind of more in the mix in the later stuff. I don't know. With Fear Factory, it's kind of in the middle. I want something, because some of their songs don't have the good cop, bad cop vocals thing. And then some of the songs have, like, too much of the good cop, bad cop stuff. So it's kind of like with them, you gotta find the right song that has just enough of each. And if something's, like, too slow, then you don't really like it with them. And then if something's, like, too fast, you don't really like it. Yeah. So I'm gonna put industrial metal in the awesome tier. I like it. And speaking of industrial metal, let's talk about industrial rock. So that's stuff like, White Zombie, Rob Zombie, and stuff like that. I like it. I think it's good. And Marilyn Manson. I wouldn't put it as heavy as, like, industrial metal, like stuff like Fear Factory and stuff, but like industrial rock, maybe even Power Man 5000 kind of industrial rock. I don't know, but I'm gonna say that genre is mid. I could kind of get into it, but I don't know. It's just kind of not really my thing. Next, let's talk about. Now I kind of lost the mainstream thing because the mainstream to underground thing because I'm kind of just thinking about what I should talk about next. Next, let's talk about hair metal, glam metal. I've always kind of had a soft spot for all that stuff because I like. That's kind of what got me into metal, and then got me like into Metallica. So I like bands like Warrant, Motley Crue, Def Leppard, Guns N' Roses, Van Halen, and stuff like Slaughter, and stuff like that. I won't say putting good because there are some stuff that I can't get into, and then some stuff is just kind of, overplayed on the radio a little bit. Your top 40 stations. So yeah, I would say it's good. Next, let's talk about tech death. Tech death is a really underground genre. There's not really a lot of like bands. I mean, you have like stuff like Archspire and stuff, and then you have bands like that, but tech death, you gotta really try to find a good band to listen to because a lot of them are like very underground. And the problem with tech death is that yes, it is very technical, but people with Pro Tools or grid or quantize the shit out of the music, and it does not sound like a real drummer at all. Like, it sounds programmed. And that's why in GarageBand I don't use like the beat sequencer or the drums like that unless I'm making like something electronic. But I'm talking about for a rock song. That's why I don't do that, because I want the dynamics to kind of sound, always like it's a real drummer drumming. But with these tech death bands, sometimes they lose the dynamics, and especially with the blast beats, and even Infinite Annihilator, with some of their songs, they try to go so fast, and then they don't have like the dynamics set right on the drums or whatever they have to do, and then they'll quantize the drums, and then it sounds so robotic. So yes, besides that, I think tech death is alright. I like it. I like some of this stuff. So I'll put it in good. Next, let's talk about your old classic heavy British heavy metal stuff. Bands like Black Sabbath, Judas Priest, Iron Maiden. A lot of that stuff, awesome. Just gotta say it's awesome. Kind of set the blueprint for what metal was to, become. And yeah, that's all I gotta say on that. Next, talk about black metal. Black metal is something. I don't listen to a lot of black metal. I don't like it a lot. And there's kind of like several reasons. Reason one is kind of that's what a lot of like new, like brand new metal bands start out doing, is like black metal, and a lot of the mixes kind of sound awful. The mixes kind of sound awful, and yeah. So I kind of like one or two black metal bands, like Mayhem, maybe. But yeah, that's about it. I do like the black metal chord progressions though. They are really dark, and um, and they sound really good. Um, sometimes I just can't get into like the vocals a little bit or some of that stuff. And then speaking of Mayhem, yeah, there's a lot of messed up stuff about Mayhem, hence the name of their band. You know how a lot of bands kind of talk about, you know, satanic lyrics and stuff, and their metal music. Well, I mean, black metal bands do it too. Thrash metal bands sometimes do it. Death metal bands sometimes do it. Some other genres sometimes do it, but Mayhem, yeah, there was a lot of messed up stuff going on there. Not just like in the songs, but like outside of the songs, like yeah. And apparently, I heard that they burned down churches, which is not really cool. I mean, talk about satanic lyrics, but in your metal bands or whatever, but don't go be burning down churches. That's just not right. So black metal, I'm gonna pull it in the mid tier, maybe. Probably even low mid. I just can't really get into it. Next, let's talk about doom metal. Stoner metal. It's the name stoner or doom metal. People listen to this like while they're on drugs. This is the kind of metal that people listen to. There's some bands like Candlemass and stuff like that. And yeah, there's some stuff I can get into, but I haven't checked a lot of that stuff out. I kind of like the riffing in doom metal a little bit. So yeah, I mean, I guess I'll put it in the mid tier. Maybe high mid to low good, but I don't know. I just haven't checked a lot of the stuff out. I maybe will have a second opinion on it if I checked more of this stuff out. Sludge metal or drone metal or any genre like that. Kind of the same thing. People listen to them like while they're getting high on drugs or whatever. So I tried listening to stuff like a few years ago. I fell asleep. I almost fell asleep trying to listen to that stuff. I can't get into it, man. Like, I'd say there's some stuff like the riffing maybe. There's maybe some kind of good parts too, but again, yeah, I'll put that in low mid. Low mid. Yeah. Next, let's talk about groove metal. Groove metal is really fun to listen to. I mean, I probably wouldn't put it in awesome, but high good. I like stuff like Machine Head and Pantera. Machine Head was actually one of the bands that Damien was getting into when he was first getting into metal. So yeah, I really like Machine Head, Pantera, Sepultura to a certain extent because they did groove metal kind of. So yeah, I mean they're kind of good. I mean Gojira maybe you could put in that that groove metal category, but they're kind of a little more than that. They're a little heavier. They're kind of like in between death metal and groove metal a little bit. So yeah, I would put groove metal in like high good. because there's some good stuff. You just gotta search. Like Machine Head. Like, especially the song Bulletproof by Machine Head. It's a really good song. And Volatile and groove metal is kind of political. I have a lot of political lyrics. So yes, hi good. Next, let's talk about prog metal. And we'll even include gent in there. Well, you know what? I'll include gent in its own category. Prog. So prog, bands like Dream Theater and stuff like that. I really like how the band gets really technical sometimes, and I like 20-minute epics, but the only problem with that is I don't like a lot of them because it feels like it's getting somewhere, and then it's kind of like classical music where it like slows down. But I kind of like classical music because of that, just because it's classical music. But with prog metal, it kind of builds up, and then like 10 minutes into the song, it kind of slows down, and then it kind of just gets me out of the song, or gets me out of the band or the album that I'm listening to. If I'm listening to like a 5-minute prog like instrumental, I like it because I know it's gonna get somewhere, and it's gonna build up to maybe like something technical or something a little different. And I mean, I get what some of the prog bands are trying to do with, slowing down like 3 or 4 minutes into the song. But I don't know. It's just not for me sometimes. And I was gonna say something, but I forgot. Oh. Before I put it in the tier, when I was talking about songs getting somewhere, like, I'll lead it back to another example. I know that, like, I listen to, like, 12-minute to, like, 15-minute trance or techno songs sometimes. And, yes, they take a while to build up to the climax. But I know, even though it's not really technical, that eventually with that song, it's going to kind of build up somewhere. And then once it builds up, it kind of does something different. But with prog, it kind of just builds up, and then, yeah, you gotta kind of listen to the chill part for like 5 minutes, and then eventually you just get bored of the song, and then just turn it off and move on to something different. So yeah, mid tier. Mid. I realized I have not put, like, a lot of genres in, like, not so good or bad. You know what? Maybe I'll change sludge / drone metal to bad. And then, doom metal, I'll probably just keep it mid. Next. Gent. Since we're on the top of progressive, let's just do gent. Kind of really depends on the gent. I kind of like the less melodic gent, like bands like Meshuggah. And I've actually been listening to a lot of older Meshuggah too, like lately, like just yesterday I was listening to like stuff from like Nothing. Like New Millennium's Cyberchrist and songs like that. But yeah, I don't really like the periphery kind of gent. Some of the songs they have genty parts, and then they kind of just slow down like a regular prog song, and then, They never get anywhere. And then some of them, and I would say some of them prog too. Kind of a lot of them are just riff salad too. What I mean by riff salad is the song doesn't really have any structure. Yeah. But yes, Gent. I'm gonna put it in good because there's certain types of Gent that I like the Meshuggah stuff. Next, hardcore. Hardcore. Oh, and fall. I forgot to mention fall because fall is part of Gent. Fall is just, Gent on steroids. So Gent and fall, good. Next, let's talk about hardcore, and I mean hardcore punk, not hardcore electronic. It's not really metal, but it still kind of counts. It's awesome, especially instrumental stuff. I do need to check out more hardcore because a lot of it is like really good. But I just haven't checked a lot of it out. But I've checked out like Drained and like Code Orange. But I need to check out some more hardcore stuff. Because if I did, it'd probably become like one of my favorite genres maybe. Because I love the breakdowns and how it kind of builds up to that. And like a lot of the hardcore riffs are really good. It's kind of what deathcore was kind of built off of. It was kind of built off of hardcore with like death metal vocals. So it kind of combined hardcore and death metal. Like hardcore with the breakdowns and riffs kind of, and then death metal with like blast beats and the vocal style. So I'm definitely putting this in awesome. Awesome, awesome, awesome. I'm trying to think if there's anything that I missed. I mean, symphonic metal. I mean, that can be kind of in any metal genre, I guess. A lot of times in deathcore, like Lord Shore, they've done symphonic. I guess we could talk about instrumental metal. So, instrumental metal. I really love instrumental metal. I've been getting into it since like 2022. And yes, a lot of the songs are good. And yes. I'm just gonna say that metalcore, deathcore, thrash instrumentals, heavy metal instrumentals, modern metal instrumentals, new metal instrumentals, like a lot of that stuff is good. So I'm gonna it's gonna definitely go in awesome. Awesome. I forgot. Melodeath or melodic death metal. I like some of this stuff. Like At the Gates. Arch Enemy, stuff like that. A lot of the stuff kind of sounds like thrash though. Kind of like sounds, I don't know how to explain it, kind of just melodic, but usually like a lot of the verses and stuff kind of sound thrashy a little bit, especially like with drums. So I'm gonna put this in good tier. I was actually listening to like a song yesterday by Arch Enemy. I'm forgetting what it was called, but it was actually a really good song. So I'm gonna put melodic death metal in like high good. So trying to think. I guess we could talk about one genre that isn't metal, which is modern rock. Because I told you I was going to count that. So yes, modern rock. I like this stuff. Like this is kind of what, got me into rock. I mean, I kind of was into rock before that, but I got in like through like, or I started listening to like classic rock, and then I kind of started listening to like modern rock, and then like alternative, and then stuff like that. Cause here's the reason why I'm counting it. It's because, it kind of, a lot of influences, especially like in like modern metal, kind of evolved from like modern rock. So that's why I'm kind of counting it. So yes, I like bands like Three Doors Down, even like 3 Days Grace. Maybe I'll consider them like hard rock, maybe, but still. But yeah, this modern rock, I'll put it in good, like mid good, medium good. Trying to think. I don't think I have anything else. So, yeah, I hope you enjoyed me ranking all different subgenres of metal. I hope at one time in some point to do my favorite metal albums of all time. Or I should just do a favorite albums of all time playlist. Do like one video, favorite metal albums, favorite electronic albums, favorite whatever. But I haven't listened to a lot of electronic albums. Or maybe I'll just do a video where I just do a bunch of favorite, like top 20 favorite albums. Metal account in that. I don't know. I'll think about it. But, yep, that is me ranking all the different subgenres of metal. So if you like the video, give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel. Leave a comment. And I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.